Yeah, sorry.
Hello, everybody. And I want to say that summer has come to the Prose Garden. Everything is in full bloom, flash fiction, CNF, prose poetry, and everything in between. I'm Francine Witte in New York City, and my co-host, Meg Pokrass, is in the UK. Today we have a special nod, like a little special feature featuring the six-sentence story, which is a kind of a new and exciting form of flash. And Meg, my co-host, and Robert Scotellaro have collaborated on a brand new book. And we will be hearing from them. We'll be hearing stories from them in just a little bit. So I welcome you all to just relax, sip on a mint julep if you want to. Let's celebrate summer. And I'm going to break the ice with a six-sentence story of my own. This is called The Dead Guy's Phone Keeps Calling Me. I answer, same as always, night fingers sweaty and clamped around me like a fist I can't shake out of. I was the last kiss on the dead guy's lips, all strawberry luscious, but stinking of goodbye. He left after a comfort scotch or two. Later, he drove himself into a wall that was harder than unreturned love. Now when he calls, I tell him, same as always, come back. Maybe we can try again. So, thank you very much. And I'm going to get started now. I'm going to turn this over to Meg in just 1 minute, but I want to just review. I want to, like, the book that she and Robert Scotellaro have collaborated on is called Breath and Shadow. We will be hearing stories from it. It's not available yet for pre-order, but keep watching the Prose Garden space for information as to when you can pre-order it. So it's Breath and Shadow. Each like Meg and Scotty put together their own six-sentence stories. So they didn't collaborate on individual stories. They put their own stories together in this wonderful collaboration. And so here's this beautiful cover with nice blurbs: Frankie McMillan, Jane Ciabatta, Bob Thurber, and Lou Beach. So it's a nice cover. Okay, so just to get started here, I'm going to introduce my lovely co-host, Meg Pokrass. Meg Pokrass is the author of 9 collections of flash fiction, and she's probably writing one right now as we speak. Her work has been published in Flash Fiction America, The Best Small Fictions 2018, 19, 22, and 23, Wigleaf Top 50, and in journals such as the New England Review, Electric Literature, McSweeney's, and Passages North. A new collaborative collection co-created with Robert Scotellaro, Breath and Shadow, six-sentence stories, is forthcoming from Mad Hat Press, and the first law of Hole's new and selected stories is forthcoming from Zank Books in late 2024. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the lovely Meg Pokrass.
Thank you so much, Francine. Thanks so much for doing this tonight and having a special reading for Scotty and I for our new book. It's really an honor, and it was really wonderful to collaborate with Robert Scotellaro on this book. We're friends from way back when, so collaborating with Scotty is really something very special to me. So I'll just my six-sentence stories are really tiny. So forgive me, there's a lot of them, so I have to figure out how to take up the whole 10 minutes, which I probably won't, but there's just sort of one after another. So I'm just gonna launch right in and read these tiny pieces. Okay. So yeah, my six-sentence stories tend to be very small, but I love the form. Cat proposal. This is the night you propose to the cat. She has nothing left to prove to you. is wild and pale, and her eyes are green as pickles. You know there are parts of your heart that you can offer her fluffy, light spirit. You have stopped answering the phone, made changes to your will. Snowball, you say. Just the sound of her name is a wedding gown. Man made of hours. In the Museum of Time, you stand there staring at a grandfather clock. It has a smooth face, like a man you used to believe in. There are fathers and husbands everywhere you look, living in the faces of the clocks. The curator walks over, looks at you as if you might have suffered a stroke. What makes you think you've been dreaming these guys up, she asks, taking your hand in hers with the papery feel of dried leaf. The two of you and your wrinkly hands, staring at the museum of everything you have ever wanted. Dwarves at the door. 7 hungry-looking dwarves knock on your door, so you invite them in for cookies. The first thing you notice is how each of them has a sad story to tell. All of their stories have to do with their fathers who have died. All of them miss their fathers grievously and weep while telling you about it. They try not to look at each other because they are men. They regret that they never told their fathers how much they loved them, and so they tell it to you instead. Decanter gig. Her job was being paid to follow an elderly widow around her own house. The client had a depressed, waxy smile, one that seemed stuck on her face since she lost her husband in the flood. There were the heavy sighs of the toilet, and they floated around her ears. She would stand there just outside the door while the woman allowed all of her sadness to dribble out. The sound was like something you'd find in nature. Shh, the old woman would say, I'm letting go of him again. Dad shadows. How could we not find one potential dad on the highway? We drove slowly, taking turns at the wheel, stopping only when hunger, like a mother, asked us to sit down and eat. And sometimes there were large, masculine shadows following us into convenience stores to buy ho-hos or tandy takes or butterscotch twinkles, the sustenance of life. We were getting bigger in order to feel small again. Any one of them could have done it, we thought. It would have been so easy. The flower library. In the flower library, she remains a tendril, talking to her father, taking him away from her mother again and again, transplanting him. Her father saying, don't encourage your mother's madness, talking to her like she's already in bloom. In the library, she's a rare orchid, the kind that blooms where it shouldn't, the kind of flower that men take care of, but only for a while. How beautiful this flower library is, she thinks, so full of specimens that never quite opened all the way up. Old selves. There you were humming them songs. There you were feeling fat inside your clothes, even though you were tiny. There you were in the midst of your one-time only beauty, a beauty that you'd rent for a decade and then decide it had been enough. There you were in your mother's house, the one she loved because it was her own, and she could tear down walls and build cupboards, the one she'd have to sell when she got cancer. There you were at the end of childhood, still loving your mother too much and trying not to let it ruin you. There you were, baking cookies for the relatives, listening to lovely Rita, thinking about how great it would feel to be a sexy meter maid. The forest. It has something to do with the adoption of that unwanted animal right there in the living room. Her husband watching telly, drinking beer, not looking at the animal dancing around. The animal gazing into her eyes, finding her interesting and rare. Later, she makes a list of things that she cannot do to please him. Increasingly, she falls asleep in the forest next to the animal. His sharp nose against her throat, his wet, dark breath becoming her own. Dangerous excavation. A middle-aged psychiatrist wants to unearth the actual woman from the deep hole in which she lives. How lovely and strange you are, he tries not to say to her while she is lounging on the sofa in his office. He stares out the window, hoping for one bright red bird. Wonders aloud, who then is this real patient, and why the hell does she wear such terrible glasses? He wonders these things in his securely married way. Whoopee hallelujah. After a month with a psychic, Dad slunk home. Said he'd been in a trance, but the spell finally broke. I'm home in just one piece, he said. Mom glared, said, whoopee hallelujah. Took Dad's hand, and the two of them hip bumped down toward the tracks. Only then did I hear the train. Gifts. Why wouldn't he want to make love to her, for God's sake? She could yodel, perform bird calls on cue the way real birds understood them, could fold a stained dish towel into a hat, was gypsy pretty, had a dog-friendly hatchback car that didn't smell, was great at making people laugh about her ex-husband's phobias, would say, I loved him so much that I just had to divorce him. She had so many gifts. Bloodlines. His words were phony, but I ate them anyway. Lemon curd, light yellow, incredibly flaky. Extraordinary, I said to myself, moving like a goddamn lemming against his legs. His bloodlines were, if anything, ruined. Best case, rare, brilliant, misunderstood wine, or small batch absinthe. What Alice sipped in order to grow small, sipping rabbit shadows all the way down. Bob's belly. After his ex gave up and took off, it felt like a festering splinter had been removed. Just terrible how a woman could aggravate a man's confidence like that, Bob thought. He knew that from here on in, solitude was going to be the only sane solution. Mary had perfection issues, he told his belly, who growled in harmonious agreement. Bob and his belly were once again a team. He enjoyed setting it free on a warm summer's day and watching it wobble in the sun. Fillmore Street. She strides through the city with her labradoodle, hair in a retro 60s cut, cell phone plugged in her ears, ergonomic leather backpack, smiles when people notice the sound of her special ringtone, chosen for her by the adolescent kids. They've gone mad. Later, licking shotfuls of espresso with foam, sitting with a friend, talking about men like rivulets that go nowhere or hair in soup. She says it softly. That cancer arrived like jellyfish on the beach overnight, invisible but real, hard to believe. Here's a number for my intuitive healer, the friend says breathlessly, because, hun, let's face it, there is nothing more boring than death. Thank you. Thanks. That's it.
That's wonderful, Meg. I love your mixture of humor and poignancy and just beautiful, precise, and startling language. You know,
thank you so much. Thanks,
yeah,
Francine.
that was beautiful. I can't wait to get this book in my hands and read these stories again. And thank you, Meg Pokrass. And now for the other collaborator is Robert Scotellaro. As I said, I'm going to be reading for Robert. He's here. Robert Scotellaro is the author of 8 flash fiction collections and numerous poetry chapbooks. He has, along with James Thomas, co-edited New Micro, exceptionally short fiction published by W.W. Norton. Okay. His work has appeared widely online and in print and included in 2 Norton Flash Fiction anthologies and several Best Small Fictions and Best Microfiction Award anthologies. Visit him at robertscotellaro.com. As I said, I will be reading for Robert, for Scotty, as we call him. He's got vision concerns, so I will be reading for him. This is called Spectacles. There they are, his reading glasses at the bottom of the clear toilet bowl water, neatly folded. There was something sad and tragic about the sight of them, something bigger drowned. She had been hounding him again the night before about having a baby as she was reading in bed, and he just waved her off, turning the page and saying it wasn't the right time. He could hear some clock, some Big Ben gonging in her, rattling the headboard and making the lampshade tilt. He put his hand down into the shallow water and retrieved them, brought them to the sink to rinse, put them on straight and dripping, and allowed himself to see the world that way. Tattoo. He got the tattoo overseas where there was a war, in a country where he wasn't welcomed. He could barely walk straight, walk at all, the djinn doing something funny with his legs when he got it. The tattoo was in Black Asian characters he thought represented something noble, as he requested, free spirit, but it translated more accurately as refrigerator mold. Years later, he told his impatient daughter it meant good things come to those who wait. He told his reckless son it meant look before you leap. He told his wife it meant forever faithful, depending completely on them, never comparing notes. After. Songbirds fly through my window screen and come out the other end rated. Light bulbs melt like wickless candles, making darkness their unwitting companions. My shoes turn into steam irons as I hop about the room, spot pressing the carpet. I hear the guys pissing on my roof and want to believe it is rain. Lava runs down a mountain out back that wasn't there a moment earlier, with its chili pepper mouths eating up the landscape. I never should have taken that call. I love that these are all 6 sentences. There's so much there, my goodness. A treachery of metaphors. Metaphors in disguise come to my door to rough me up, or at least threaten to. They are all from poems I have written about my father, and he's paid them well. I rip the fake mustache off one or wig from another as they look away sheepishly. And I thought I could trust you, all of you, I say as they slink off. Later, at my desk, a simile taps at my window with its beak and flares out a wide expanse of rudderless wings. It is something red at the end of its beak, but sincere watery eyes, and cautiously, I let it in. 5,000-inch TV and the rain. Testosterone was the thing in the room you could store in big barrels. The men were watching the game on that new 5,000-inch TV Ray had to have. 2 other men splintered off and were arm wrestling on a small card table that kept tipping, as the one with big biceps and a panther tattoo clawing up one of them kept eyeballing Rita. Ray repeatedly asked her for more beer, and she told them she didn't have any crutches. She told him she didn't have any crutches, which made his friends laugh at him as he glared at her. She went outside in the rain, stood there feeling washed somewhat, and knew she would leave him. But the how and when eluded her. She tried to light a cigarette, needed to light a cigarette, but couldn't. Each drop was whale-sized, and it was pouring. Vegetable porn. She picks up a large zucchini, seems to fondle it, appraises its size and shape, slides a hand up and down the length of it. He's certain she knows he is watching. He is by a low pyramid of beefsteak tomatoes and picks up one and squeezes it gently, turns a bit towards her. He goes back and takes another, one in each hand, rotating them slowly. The woman doesn't notice the man, the tomatoes, but only the little fingernail half moons in the green skin of the zucchini, and thinks how utterly uncivilized that anyone should have handled it so recklessly, so wantonly. Sexy vegetables. Kama Sutra for virgins. They met on christianmingle.com. Find God's match for you, and they were both saving it for marriage. It was their 3rd date, and they sat at the edge of a bluff after a long hike and gazed at their small town below. He'd self-published a slim pamphlet he called the Kama Sutra for Virgins, which was divided into 3 sections: first base, second base, and third base, with crudely drawn illustrations throughout, exploring a plethora of what he called God-sanctioned premarital pleasures, and handed it to her. When she got to the third base section, she lingered, then stood, told him she despised sports metaphors, and flung the booklet off the ledge over the ledge as he watched its meager wingspan flutter fecklessly in the wind. Then he stood too. It was a long way back to the car. Swimming hole. As I passed through the village, I saw the kids splashing playfully in the crater left from the 2,000-pound bomb. It was a monsoon season. It was the monsoon season, and the hole was filled with muddy water. Even at 20, I could feel it gut the beauty of resilience and the horror of circumstance. My rifle was a crude, wet part of me by then, an external organ. There was a lull in the incessant rain, but my boots bubbled with each footfall as we looked out for the sinister things to step on, or secret hide holes in the earth. At night, the mosquitoes were plump, and malaria was in our blood. Count on it. I'm in a fat Elvis band, the older Elvis, pot-bellied in those glittery jumpsuits. My girlfriend Reva just broke up with me for a guy in a skinny Johnny Cash band. She told me right before she left, "You want something you can count on? Get an abacus." I guess it's put a lot more twang in my guitar, that breakup, because a cutie pie from a lit-up Lady Gaga band and me have been seeing each other plenty. She says she loves the way I curl my lip at that crazy sexy angle, and the jumpsuits don't hurt either. Sometimes, when it's real quiet late at night and she's asleep, I use the abacus just to hear the beads tap together. Love a good fat Elvis micro. Accompaniment. She follows me around playing a tuba, says it suits my disposition. I play a viola outside the shower stall as the sudsy water circles the drain at her feet. During canasta, we play air guitar, for there's no accounting for the wiles of chance. The sitar she plays as I'm getting ready for work annoys me. Hyperbole has always been an irritant. The musical saw I play as she's shaving her legs puts her nerves on edge. But in the sack, the cymbals are cherished, handed back and forth. And in the morning, sometimes we play the timpani after that second cup of coffee, just to keep us on our toes. Paper roses for the fire god. She kept bringing him paper roses for that vase he had on the piano, but they kept turning into small torches, adding a twitchy stretch of shadows to the walls. After he'd been playing Rachmaninoff for great lengths, blackening the keys, she'd put on oven gloves and rubbed his shoulders. After a time, she left their canary out the window and replaced it with a wind-up tin toy parrot that enigmatically said tweet tweet when you wound it. When they watched TV, she wrapped herself in tinfoil, trying not to make too much noise when she crossed and uncrossed her legs. Sometimes, when she was particularly perturbed by his incendiary nature, she based her epitaphs with kerosene and fling them at him just to watch them flare. And we have 2 more. Upper and lower universes. I'm a kid, and we're in my uncle's backyard, the 2 of us, and there are fireflies hauling their little lanterns around. His wife left him, my dad. My wife left him, my dad, left me and my mom. So now we are stand-ins for each other's comforts. He points up at a falling star. That's what happened, he says, when the angels do pratfalls. They shake the stars loose. What's a pratfall? I asked, still focused on the lovely yellow stars in this lower universe, not looking up at all. And he can tell as he says, don't mind me. Years later, I will learn what pratfalls are and real falls are and be pained by the difference. And last, my mother's parting words to my father. Perhaps, she said, as he packed his bags, these ornamental rooster wings of yours will never taste the sky. Or maybe it was, you're like a heaven where all the stars are made of mud. Then again, it could have been, I no longer seek your probable wonders or those handfuls of powdered rust. Or possibly it was, I'm weary of listening to that peculiar squeak of an oiled heart. Or it might have been, I'm no longer willing to dwell in your prevarications, which are like the one-room apartments spiders build. Oh yeah, now I remember. It was, get the fuck out. Last words to live by. Robert Scotellaro. And one more time, I'm going to show you the cover here of Breath and Shadow. Like I said, it's not yet available for pre-order, but it will be very soon. So keep watching the Prose Garden Space and Facebook, and believe me, we'll let you know about it when it's available. And thank you for listening. Meg Pokrass and Robert Scotellaro. Now we're going to hear from our other readers today. We're going to start with Federico Escobar. Federico Escobar, originally from Cali, Colombia, has lived through a hurricane, a couple of earthquakes, and lots of rainbows. He writes stories and poems in Spanish and English, with work appearing in publications like Cleaver and The Fair. He works in education. Federico Escobar.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and it's hard to come after such great.
Federico, you went back on mute.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah, just start over. Yeah.
Okay. So this is it was hard to pick which story to read, but this one's called The Father and the Crocodile. And let me see if this is happening. Did it happen again?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is called Father and the Crocodile. It's unpublished. So now, my children, Father is giving each of you this because he is generous and kind, they all scream. The emissary spreads the candy among the children. The sugary colors stick together from the same heat that makes the windows blurry. So the kids get a piece each that has the weight of 5 or 6. The children peel wrappers with the picture of Father on them and suck on the candy that says Father in big red letters. Tell us, a boy who is still chewing says, the one about Father and the crocodile. Are you sure you don't want to hear about Father's nephew who is being investigated for money laundering? Or about Father's son who mowed down a crowd with his car while drunk one night and got sentenced to a year of vacation on our magnificent Caribbean islands? Wouldn't you rather hear about that? Father and the crocodile, the kids chant. Well then, Father and the crocodile it is. The teacher tiptoes inside. Is it too hot in here for you? I know you're from the city. Our heat is often too much for you emissaries. No, it's fine, the emissary says. Please, let me help. She walks across the classroom. Slender forearms, strong calves. It's our village manners, you see. She turns on the ceiling and watches as it spins, massaging the hot air trapped in the room. The teacher clicks to a higher setting and waits for the fan to speed up. Another click, another wait. Father and the crocodile, the kids say in chorus, candy gone. Don't let me distract you, the teacher says. The ceiling fan flicks moments of coolness at the kids huddled around the emissary on the floor. Well, as I was saying, Father was a brave little kid, just like all of you. One day, He was helping his family run errands in town when he noticed something wrong on the wall separating the sewer water from the river. As he ran toward it, he noticed cracks all over it. He started gathering tree sap to smear the walls and protect the town when a mighty crocodile jumped out of the river. Do you think father was scared? No, the kid screamed. Of course he wasn't. Father is too quick for a silly crocodile. He did the bravest thing of all. He jumped on top of the crocodile, shut the animal's jaws with his 10-year-old hands, and kicked its sides like a cowboy. He rode the crocodile right into the mayor's building and reported the cracks in the wall. The town was saved. Yay for father, they all screamed. Yay for father indeed, the emissary said. The teacher winked at him and he smiled back. Her wink sticks on his skin, on his beard, melted there by the heat. It flutters across his mind as he eats guavas and plantains and tries to listen to some of the local councilors' grievances and gossip. It unravels his fingers in his pockets as he walks across the cawing and howling that weave into the night sky. It meets him at the side of the pond by the statues of the patriots splattered with the whites and grays of pigeon feathers and feces. It is there with him when the crocodile splashes out of the lake, mouth open, a line of teeth glistening under the little moonlight that drips through the branches. He shakes his head, thinking of father riding the crocodile toward law and order, the symbol of the country. He rubs his eyes. He knows no crocodiles are left since the great reptile rush of a decade ago, all of them folded out into purses and hanging on shoulders where there is snow and daffodils. Down here, only the crocodiles from the emissary's story survive. The crocodile snaps its mouth and approaches him in a rush that crushes the grass beneath it. He knows it is impossible, but it comes toward him still, and fear comes with it. The wink is gone. Hope is gone. Truth is gone. He thinks of leaping on the crocodile's back, wrapping a vine around its neck, feeling its coarse plates biting into his skin. He sees it happen as he plays it out before a group of school children, all of them amazed by his bravery. In this version, he slides to the side, jumps, his legs curled into place. But he isn't father. Even father isn't father. He knows this as he is dragged into the lake, and the animal's tail is all that's left.
Thank you, Federico. Did you want to read another or?
I think that's long enough.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
for
Well,
your
that was
patience.
wonderful. I was just like, oh, that end of that last image of the tail, beautiful. So thank you so much for reading today at the Prose Garden. I want to take a minute to recognize some of the non-readers, but the people in the Zoom room who are like many of them, all of them pretty much, I think, vital members of the Flash community. Jeff Friedman, Catherine Silverhajo, my beautiful Aunt Miriam Mandel, Patricia Bedar, Calliope Palios, Hugh Bames Steinberg, John Wee, Jacqueline Doyle, Luella Lester, B. Knightley, Jamie Bond, and Kara Conke. Okay. And welcome and thank you for being here. And I know it's such a nice day out that you could be, and it's Memorial Day weekend here in the States, like could be anywhere. So I appreciate, Megan, I really appreciate you being here and spending the time with us at the Prose Garden. Okay, next we have Mikki Aronoff, who scribbles away in New Mexico and has staring contests with her dog. Mikki Aronoff.
Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited. I love the Prose Garden series, Francine and Meg, and I can't wait to get a copy of Breath and Shadow. I'm still snorting at the title, Kama Sutra for Virgins. And Federico, that was a really beautiful animated reading and a hard act to follow. So can you tell I'm stalling? Okay, my story is called Old Chestnuts, and it was published by the wonderful Claire McQueen and her wonderful McQueen's Quintily a couple years ago. Old Chestnuts. Mrs. B doesn't know Mr. D that well. Not sure she wants to, although in dim light he's not half bad. Drunk, they'd fake tangoed at a mutual friend's wedding in the hotel ballroom. Then he fuck danced two of her friends, so she left for the rooftop bar. Soon, his voice, "What's crack-a-lackin'?" Grinning like salvation, arms wide, two plastic flutes sloshing champagne. Does that mean he likes me? Mrs. B puzzles. When she moved to London after the divorce, conversations and crosswords and charades paralyzed her. She hadn't a clue about who or what or when. When she moved back, she was doubly stumped. She feels safest sticking to her grandfather's old phrases rooted in her chest. He crooned rather than spoke, chirped words like crikey and wet your whistle. Phrases flew out of his mouth like starlings heading for telephone wires or half notes on wavy staffs. Close to his cirrhotic end, he joked about the pine overcoat he'd soon be wearing. Mrs. B repeats his words to keep him alive, tucks them under her tongue until it's time to let go. But keep it under wraps scared and scarred her, accompanied as it was by scowls and growls when he'd catch her finding him in the basement, sneaking into his bottle. She'll never utter those words, but she now raps whatever she can. Before she leaves for work, she casts a protective, shimmering light over her studio apartment, herself, and her patent leather bag. Inside that bag, she keeps only objects that are wrapped. Butterscotch candies in cellophane, a lipstick in a gold case, credit cards in a zippered pouch, and words, Grandpa's words, hydrant, cycle, tomorrow, or there are words holding hands, cat's pajamas, bee's knees, tickety-boo, chin wag. Her heart swathed in purple tissue, everything inside of something, all inside her bag. Mrs. B sets her Manhattan back on the bar, takes the flute from Mr. D. She is slow to uncoil, to unhinge her joints, to stretch her leggy bones. She leans back, drinks in the scene with a bubbly, the bar, the fellow, the sliver of moon overhead. Mrs. B notes Mr. D's slicked back hair, the smell of bay rum aftershave, his boutonniere and moonwalk flirtations. Pieces click into place. Crack-a-lackin' has curled into her ear, nestles there. He's a fool, but he could be my fool, she thinks, unpeeling her shawl from her shoulders. Thank you. That's it. Cut.
Oh, oh, that's wonderful, Mikki. If you look in the chat, one of the lines that really everybody loved was the starlings heading for the telephone wires, and the like notes on a staff, like that was a nice echo of that, right? Beautiful. That was just beautiful imagery, just wonderful, Mikki.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, delightful. Really, always nice to have you here, Mikki. Mikki Aronoff. Okay, next we have Pamela Painter is the award-winning author of 5 story collections. Her stories appear in numerous journals and anthologies. She has received 4 Pushcart Prizes, I'm just going to say that again, for pushcart prizes. Most recently, and she just won another one, just this in Alaska Quarterly Review. She's amazing. Her work has been staged by Word Theater in LA, London, and New York, and her story Doors will soon be a short film. Pamela Painter.
Thank you. What a great group of readings. And congratulations to Megan, Scotty, especially for this book. I really can't wait to have it. So you're going to let us know when it's available, right? When we can pre-order it. So, and Mikki, your words, Hydrant and Chinwag and Federico, great readings. Thank you for including me. So I'm going to read two stories, and the first one is from the point of view of an 8-year-old boy. So it's called You Are Like Me. I'm on the Landegren Mesa, where I used to hunt arrowheads and pretend I lived in Black Dog Village. But when I turned 8, I began to imagine the future with aliens living here right next door. Now I draw that future for myself and my TikTok followers with what my 6th grade teacher calls my fertile imagination. But this alien planted in the sand is real. You are like me, is what the alien says. It, him, her, they, has a light bulb head, 4 eyes, no nose, an oblong mouth. And like a light bulb, it has a round, gold-circled throat with lines. The alien twirls closer, and I can tell it already feels plugged into our planet. You are like me actually sounds like, you are like me. I think, now what? Now what? The alien echoes what I'm thinking. Then it turns upside down to twirl on its light bulb head. Dust rises. Here I am. It just said, here I am, to me, to me, it says, twirling. You do know I'm only 10, I say. How can an upside down light bulb look surprised? Only 10? Does it matter, I say? It must matter, because in a twinkle, the alien is right side up and gone. And the next story is called When Flashers Meet. I peer up and down the aisle at Piggly Wiggly to make sure I'm alone. Then I lift down the oblong box of cornflakes and tuck its noisy contents deep inside the pocket of my late husband's trench coat. Dumb word, late. My old man used this trench coat for our 50 years of married life before he couldn't eat steak or ribs no more. Never mind this here cereal. Some idiot probably wonders who steals cereal. Someone down and out like me, that's who. Special K, Rice Krispies, Cheerios, Wheaties. Milk turns it into a lovely soggy soup, easy on my dentures. I steer my empty cart toward the dairy aisle. When my bum knee knocks the damn box, I tell it, just you shush, as a pissy-looking dude in a cowboy's jacket wheels his cart around the corner. He squints and says, are you talking to me? I figure his sorry day needs a surprise. I swing open my old man's coat and flash my cornflakes at him. His cart comes to a full stop. He peers around as if to say, do you see what I see? Then I note the pocket of his cowboy's jacket has a suspicious, sagging lump. Aha! He catches me eyeing it, so he flashes his jacket full on at me. Clearly, a fat chicken is roosting in his right inside pocket. His beard can't hide his grin. I huff. Damn chicken's way too much for me. He thinks on this, then he says, what do you want? I got another pocket. Meat department, maybe? I nod and swing my cart around and head for meat, red meat. I hear his cart following me. Oh, glory. It's been years since a brisket bubbled in my old oven, slathered in onions. I choose a big fat slab and slide it forward. We exchange nods, then I wheel away to produce to find 4 onions. When he catches up to me near checkout, both his pockets are sagging now. We check out in different lanes as if we don't know each other. I pay for 1 onion and keep the other 3 quiet in my second pocket. He buys a quart of chicken broth. We meet outside near his battered motorcycle. He transfers his chicken to a tattered saddle pouch and pulls out a Piggly Wiggly bag to make the brisket easy for me to carry home. I give him an onion. Well, he says. Well, I say. We aren't partners. We aren't anything. But we both find it hard to say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Pam. Pam Painter, putting the flash in flash fiction. Pam Painter, that's wonderful stories, Pam. And thank you for being with us. We always love to have you in the Prose Garden. So our next reader is not just a reader, she's kind of an empire, really. You know, writer, but also director, you know, the Flash Fiction Festival and all kinds of things. So that's Jude Higgins, and it's evening where you are, Jude, I believe.
Yeah.
In the UK. Jude is a dedicated flash fiction writer and organizes writing events. She founded the Flash Fiction Award and directs the Flash Fiction Festival in the UK, and the Small Press Ad Hoc Fiction. So, you know, just in your spare time, right? Her new collection, Clearly Defined Clouds, is forthcoming this summer. We're delighted to have the wonderful Jude Higgins.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here too, and to come after all those beautiful stories. So much marvelous language in them. So much to savor. So I'm going to read a couple of stories that are in my new collection. The first one, Spinning, was also chosen for Best Microfictions. I was really thrilled about that. And that it was originally published in Flash Flood, the UK National Flash Fiction Day event that happens on National Flash Fiction Day. So here it is, Spinning. After her husband left, she thought it would be good to keep in regular contact with friends and family, people who cared. Today, she'd rung Daisy, her daughter, several times, but Daisy hadn't answered. A conversation with her or anyone would be so welcome. Had no one remembered it was 1 year, 6 weeks, and 2 days since she'd been alone after 30 years of marriage? To make her mobile ring, she spun her silver cake knives in circles, once every hour. If someone rang and the call lasted 2 minutes, she would allow herself a cinnamon bun. On the 4th hour, the phone rang. Not her daughter, but Marco, a pleasant-sounding young man from Sunlit Futures. She kept him talking. Yes, she was interested in green energy. Yes, she would buy solar panels. She asked him about his working conditions, if many people put the phone down on him as soon as he spoke. Yes, people frequently do that, he said, his voice reassuring. And it's lovely for a change to speak to someone who appreciates the importance of renewable energy. It's lovely to think that energy can be renewed, she said, remembering whirling around the ballroom floor in her dancing days when her husband still loved her. But after she told Marco she couldn't give him her bank details and didn't want a stranger coming round to measure up, her daughter told her never to agree to such things. He said he had to go. I'll still consider all your offers, she added hastily. Can you phone again? Of course, he said kindly. What about tomorrow? 6 minutes had elapsed during the call, so she ate 3 cinnamon buns to celebrate, then rang her daughter on repeat to let her know the good news. Thank you.
Wonderful, Jude.
I'm going to read one more story, and this one, I do like to do reworkings of fairy stories, and this is a story that was published in New Flash Fiction Review a couple of years ago, and it's a reworking of the story about the maiden who has to collect water from a well in a sieve. So this story is called How to Collect Water from a Well When There's Only an Office Chair to Hand. When the men come to my house for the last time, they cut off all the services and take everything, apart from my swivel chair. How can I collect water from the well with that? In the fairy story, the maiden who was told to fetch water in a sieve relied on a frog to tell her to line it with moss and mud, a solution she could have come to easily on her own. There are no frogs at this well, and the chair is too big to fit in the opening. I twirl around on it to see if that might help me think of something when two other women turn up, both carrying knives. They could kill me, eat me up, I know that. Times are desperate, women will do anything. But all they want to do is have a go on the chair. For old time's sake, one says, to remind me when I could go out and work in an office. So I let them spin around as much as they like. None of us know how to reach the water in the well. When it rains, we lie on our backs with our mouths open, but it only rains long enough to moisten our lips. We're on first name terms now. Shirl, Lily, and me, Babs. After the rain stops, the frogs arrive and gather round, waiting to share their suggestions. Sleep with me, one says, and I'll tell you how to fix your problems. Such a cliche. Shirl cuts off its head before it has a chance to say more, and it doesn't turn into a prince who might take us all to a happy ever after future. It's just a dead frog. We toss around ideas about how to use the swivel chair to collect water. In the end, I have the brainwave to unscrew all its parts with a coin I discover in my pocket. Lily helps, and we lower the hollow legs down the well. It's so hot, and we're so dehydrated we drink pints even though the water's brackish. Lily says she feels like a plant with leaves plumping up again. She squeezes my arm and says that I'm a plant too, then chuckles, like she might have done after drinking gin on a night out with the girls. I've tried not to think about back then, but with Lily, it feels okay. Shirl kills the rest of the frogs and we eat them raw. She tells us frogs' legs are rich in protein, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamins, and potassium. So that stops us throwing up. After we've finished, I spot some peppermint in the grass near the well, and when we chew it, it's like cleaning our teeth. So we're all right, really. Managing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love that, Jude. I love the frog. It's really funny. Wonderful reading. And what's behind you there in your picture? What is that?
That's the building that we held I'll just move sideways, the Flash Fiction Festival in.
Mm-hmm.
Old building in Bristol. And it's that part of the festival's there and part's in a newer part of the building.
And that's coming up in July, is that correct?
July the 12th to the 14th, yes. Very, very soon. Soon after the general election here in the UK. So we might have some celebrating to do.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, welcome and thank you for being here on
Thank you for having
Prose
me.
Garden. Thank you. Okay. Our final reader for today is oh, and I wanted to remind you, everybody, like if you've been reading, look in the chat. There's some wonderful comments there that, I know you missed them while you're reading, but it's really nice that people are commenting and so on. And Our final reader today is Andrea Marcusa. Andrea Marcusa's writings have appeared in the Gettysburg Review, Citron Review, Milk Candy Review, Cleaver, New Flash Fiction Review, and others. She's received recognition in a range of competitions, including Smoke Long, Cleaver, and Southampton Review. She's on the faculty at the Writer's Studio and also a member of the school's masterclass, where she studies with poet Philip Schultz. Andrea Marcusa.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Actually, I think I'm going to take these out. My husband was playing the flute before, so I didn't want it to bother people. I'm going to read just one piece today, and it's called "The Park Association's Boots and Petticoats Square Dance Party." I guess everybody, even in across the pond, knows what a square dance party is. Right? Anyway, you've probably seen them on movies. A couple clasped their hands, then held them high and stepped onto the makeshift dance floor. He, with a red bandana tied around his neck and ancient cowboy boots on his feet. She wore a frilly peasant blouse and calico skirt, its white petticoat fluttering like a melody in the breeze. The fiddler's bow met strings, the caller spoke. The two bowed on cue with mastery. The world around them paused, and we patrons forgot our oaky Merlots and craft beers as we watched the couple do-si-do in time with the other dancers, the man's eyes as blank as the gray floor beneath him, his face slack. But he moved confidently. With a dramatic flourish, the man cradled the woman's shoulder with his arm, head high, body nimble, and led her in a promenade. The man danced like he'd been competing in competitions for decades, like he practiced sashaying in his sleep, wrote Turkey in the Straw himself. But his expression said the opposite, vacant, gone. The man sported a full head of white hair. The woman's sharp blue eyes took in the other guest stares, the banjo players strumming, the strings of white lights twinkling above. Despite the woman's age and small frame, the regal way she held her head and her feet rat-tatted the floor told us she was the kind of woman you wouldn't dare budge in front of in a grocery store line. So opposite the man with his vacant stare, his slightly parted lips, a curl of saliva forming at the corner of his mouth. But he timed each move like a trapeze artist who knows when to hold on and when to let go. After an Allemande left with the other dancers, the man and woman came together, clasped the other's hand like young lovers, never wanting to part, and they ignored the caller when he announced it was time to trade partners. The woman deftly waved the others away, keeping the man in her arms. We were all watching, the bartender polishing wine glasses, the woman in jeans and a cowboy hat who paused with her tray of ribs and beans against her hip, the park ranger in his gray uniform whose face broke into a toothy smile, a woman who waited nearby for a porta potty. We were captivated by the sight of the couple as they glowed before us like ancient hematite under a setting sun. But the moment that pierced all our hearts was the wife's expression when she paused and wiped the man's mouth with a tissue, and then tenderly tucked a lock of hair behind his ear, with the touch of a woman who has just awoken in the arms of a new love, having stroked and kissed and tasted and surrendered far into the night. Then she rested her lips on his. A kiss that told us she'd love this man for a lifetime, a kiss that said she'd lived through broken promises and trips to Walmart with him for motor oil, and opened her eyes after breast surgery to see his worry lift the moment she smiled. a kiss that told us she once arrived home after abandoning her stuck car in a blizzard, and he'd rubbed her frozen hands and feet until they thawed. A kiss that said she'd sometimes hurled a hairbrush at him for words she can no longer remember, and stood with a "you can" sign and cheered for him at the 25th mile of his first marathon, and inhaled the perfume of bouquets of roses that occasionally arrived for her from him for no reason whatsoever, as if they were her first. Despite whatever may come, whether a DAC facility or with other absent beings, or a wheelchair because his legs had forgotten how to move, she had once lain in his arms, their hearts beating in unison, knowing she would jump before a speeding truck rather than endure the agony of watching him die. Transfixed, we prayed that we'd be among the fortunate ones and never grow lost like this man who kept asking his wife between sets, "Where are we? Why are we here?" In our next breath, we privately hoped, if it happened to us, that we would be loved just as tenderly and selflessly as this man, adored even if we grew obstinate or when parts of us were dead. If this was our destiny, how we wanted to be this man: stooped shoulders, fading mind, a slight smile as he swung his partner, his red bandana waving like a flag.
Oh, that was beautiful, Andrea, and heartbreaking. Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea Marcusa. Well, this has been a really wonderful reading. Want to thank our wonderful readers celebrating their book, Breath and Shadow, which is upcoming. And you can always, we have a Facebook group, the Prose Garden. Feel free to join it, and we post lots of, information about upcoming readings, etc. And if you're interested, if you've heard something today that you really like and you want to find out more about that reader, that would be a good place. Like, I would love to read more of, so and so's work. Where can I get in touch with them? So and so. That's a good place to put it. And this is being recorded, so it will have a second life. Hopefully that the recording gods are good to us. But it will have a second life. So if people weren't here, they can still see it, and you can share it and so on. So I want to thank Meg Pokrass, Scotty, Robert Scotellaro, Federico Escobar, Mikki Aronoff, Pamela Painter, Jude Higgins, and Andrea Marcusa. And we're going to turn off the recording, and you can hang out in the Zoom room and we can chat and get home safely. I always say that at a Zoom reading: drive safely.